We've been looking at forgiveness and beginning to recognize the curse of unforgiveness and judgments. And at the source of a lot of these judgments is a word called bitterness. In Hebrews chapter 12, verse 15, it says, "See to it that no one misses the grace of God, and that no bitter root would grow up and defile many." Well, what is a bitter root? You see, when you've been offended and you begin to allow that offense to take root inside of you, that sense of bitterness, that sense of it's not fair or it's not right, begins to generate itself into what we call a bitter root judgment. And you see, the moment you create that judgment, like I said last time, it creates a filter. So we begin to see things in a negative light. We begin to see people in a negative light because it's fueled by our hatred. It's fueled by our need to be right, which means that everybody else has to be wrong. And so as a result, we put up walls because we need to defend our position and our sense of righteousness. And you see, when you begin to allow a bitter root to come in, it begins to produce fruit. Well, the first thing it does, it creates inner turmoil. And that turmoil simply begins to allow your mind to begin to keep thinking about what had happened. You begin to replay the offense in your mind over and over again. Then you begin to think of different nuances, or did you hear the way their tone was? Or did you see the way he gave me that look? And even in the future, whenever you pass them in the corridor, or you see them, you suddenly begin to notice things that really aren't even there, because that inner turmoil begins to interpret the way you judge or you see people, and that inner turmoil creates a negativity. And that negativity ultimately will cause you to lose that sense of objectivity. And when you lose that objectivity, well, you'll simply become negative about everything, and it opens you up to what I call a critical spirit. And the more critical you are, the more, your life becomes miserable. You begin to allow misery to become the atmosphere around you. That is the fruit of a bitter root. And so it's important and vital that we begin to recognize our bitter root judgments. So how do we do that? Well, for example, think about it. Is there anybody in your life, the moment you think about them, your first thought is negative? If you do, that often will show you that you have a bitter root judgment towards them. Maybe it's something that they did many years ago that has offended you. And it's time to resolve that. It's time to let go of the pain of that bitter root. And so in the coming weeks, we're going to begin to say, how do I resolve the bitter root? How do I pull it up so that it doesn't continue to journey with me into my future, and so that I can walk free from the bondage of my unforgiveness and my bitterness? So this is Steve Chua praying that you will allow God to speak to you so that you can deal with your bitterness and that you can begin to move into freedom.